News on the build-up to the contest for the world's oldest sports trophy now on BBC Two. Here's Peter Snow.
This is it, the America's Cup, the World Cup of sailing. After all the build-up and expectations, the legal shenanigans, the hundreds of millions of pounds spent on the most high-tech racing yachts ever built, the race is now on for the most prestigious trophy in the history of sailing, here in the Hauraki Gulf off Auckland in New Zealand. Good evening, and what a beginning to the fierce 5-month battle between the world's top sailors. Britain in the America's Cup for the first time in 15 years is off to a brave start, but it takes more than bravery to struggle through the challenges and hazards of these races. They're the ultimate test of the skill and strength of the crews and of the boats. Yes, one boat did actually split in two last time. They're huge vessels, but they're built for lightness and speed, and they can be very fragile. And like the crews who sailed them parading up Auckland's main street last week, they're the best that money can buy. This is a unique battle between 10 multi-million-pound syndicates from 7 countries, including Britain.
I am proud to accept this challenge on behalf of the participants to the Louis Vuitton Cup leading to the 31st America's Cup.
And the BBC's Michael Peshart will give us a glimpse a little later of just how much pride and prestige is at stake. Well, now, Britain has never won the America's Cup since the Americans first won in 1851, a long time ago. The Americans have only lost it once to Australia in 1983 and then to New Zealand 12 years later. Now, the New Zealanders are fighting to retain the trophy they've successfully defended once already, in 2000. The Kiwis were fighting to keep the cup they'd snatched from the Americans in 1995. The winners take the cup and the venue with them. So here they were in Auckland, defending their title against the Italian boat Luna Rossa. Sponsored by the fashion house Prada, it had earned its place in the final against New Zealand by smashing the other challengers. And at the start, it set a good pace against the Kiwis.
Prada, magnificent, right on the button at the pinion. Brilliant time on distance by the Italians.
But New Zealand's Black Magic had Olympic champion Russell Coutts at the helm on his 38th birthday, and there was no way he was going to allow the Italians to spoil the party. The final score of 5-0 to the defending champions simply underlined their superiority. The New Zealand team had built on their 1995 success to become the first non-American team ever to celebrate winning the Cup for 2 successive championships. Well, the battle for the 31st America's Cup is now on. There have been 4 races so far in the early hours of Monday. It was too windy for racing yesterday and today. Britain's GBR Challenge team had the hardest fought race so far with Dennis Connor's team from America, and we'll watch that stunning race in just a moment. We're looking at around 40 races per boat in the long series of 2-boat races that will decide between now and January who will fight the New Zealanders in the America's Cup final. I say 2-boat races because these are all so-called match races in which only 2 boats compete each time. And 2 of the world's top match racers are with me. Australian Nick Maloney and Britain's Olympic gold medalist Ben Ainsley. Now, Ben, what is it about match racing that's so exciting?
Well, match racing's a 2-boat race, winner takes all, and the crews are really looking to use tactics and the rules to get one up on their opponents. And these America's Cup boats are so powerful and manoeuvrable, it really makes the match racing we're seeing, you know, the best in the world, and it's great to watch.
Nick, what are we looking for in these first races? What are the telltale signs of a good and a bad boat?
Well, I think the telltale signs in the early stages are obviously a fast boat, a boat that turns very quickly, and great communication on board, very relaxed atmosphere and a very fluent boat for the water.
Now, don't give the show away. Don't tell anybody who won, just in case I haven't watched, who won the British race for the Americans. But how well do you think the Brits are doing at this early stage?
Well, this is the first time the Brits have been on this course in this arena for 15 years. So everyone's slightly sceptical and everyone's really hanging out to see what happens. And all the results so far have been very, very promising.
Promising. OK, that's good to hear that. Now, before we watch that dramatic first test for the British team, let me just take you around the boat. 80 foot long, around 25 metres long, with a mast 33 metres high. That's over 100 feet. It has a crew of 16, the most agile of all of them up at the front, the bowman, then the 4 men who put the sails up and down, the 8 so-called grinders and trimmers who pull on the ropes and manage the sails, and the 4 in the afterguard, the people behind the wheel, who do the tactics and the steering, and, of course, the skipper. Now, the British crew is a young one with less America's Cup experience than most of its rivals, but that doesn't curb their enthusiasm, as I discovered in Auckland before that first race. The man this team is built around is a double Olympic silver medalist.
But as helmsman of the boat, Peter, I have to keep the boat going fast as possible at all times. That means concentrating on the angles, on the sails, the feel of the boat, the numbers. It's really just a question of concentration 100% of the time. But as skipper of the team, that's a different role. I really have to lead the team. Now, the team numbers 119 people in total. But on a race day, there's 16 guys who are going to be on the boat, giving their heart and soul to winning the race. And sometimes it'll go badly and we'll all need picking up. Sometimes it'll go very, very well. And no doubt we'll all have to have our feet put back on the ground. So, dual roles, but both a great honour.
Two distinguished rowers are the powerhouse in this boat, an Oxford Blue and an Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, we just provide the power for the sails, and we're 2 of any 8 people at any one time who'll be grinding, so that's our job basically, to trim these sails and basically listen to the trimmers on the boat.
Yeah, our job's turn these handles around as hard and fast as we can to make the sails go up and down and in and out, and that's got as much to do with rowing as it is, really.
Now meet the 2 men who are the brains behind the brawn.
I'm the decision maker on the boat. I take in all the input from Andy, from Jules the navigator, and look at the breeze and what's going on, and I'll make the decision, recommend a decision to Ian to helm the boat.
I really give the what-ifs, the other scenarios, the possibilities that could occur regarding the other boat around the racetrack, and I call the breeze into the boat. All of that's inputted through Ado, and he then distributes that throughout the boat to the people that are relevant.
If there's one job on this boat that really requires a daredevil, this is it.
Hello, Peter. I'm Matt Cornwell. I'm the bowman on the boat, which means I sort of work the front of the boat. That's my domain up there. It's wet, it's windy, precarious. I get to do all the dirty jobs like climbing up the rig, going to the end of the pole. It's a bit of an action station, really.
With acres of sail up there that can rip in a strong wind, who'd want to be sales manager?
I would, Peter. Fantastic opportunity for me to come on board an America's Cup yacht and be in charge of the sail program. My responsibilities include coordinating the design and the manufacture of the sails. That's the mainsails, the jibs and the spinnakers. And to put all three areas of the campaign together and go sailing is just fantastic.
Meet the two men who really do have to know their ropes.
Hi, I'm James, this is Jonathan. We run the pit area of the boat. We effectively control the spinnakers and the headsail, so up and down. And we can sort of have dual roles. I work on the grinders, which is the front part, in the first half of the race, and Jonathan works at the back of the boat.
We do the communication from the back and to the front of the boat, what they want. They tell us what sort of manoeuvres they'd like us to prepare, and then we pass that forward, and hopefully everything goes nicely and smoothly.
No, he doesn't really live in a sewer, but he does have a pretty mucky job.
Yeah, I'm the sewerman. It's my responsibility to get the right sail up at the right time and then pack all the sails. Probably one of the wettest jobs on the boat, with tremendous amounts of water flying over you as you're packing the spinnaker as you go upwind. So it's a dark and dismal place.
Well, there's the cast of characters. Now, before we enjoy the excitement of that first race, a quick look at the geography of the America's Cup and the rules of the road. It all takes place on one of three courses in the Hauraki Gulf. Auckland's down here somewhere. There's the Hauraki Gulf. Only the northeast is really exposed to the wind. Most of it's pretty sheltered there, as you can see. So they choose one of those three courses, and then they see where the wind's coming from. Let's suppose the wind is coming straight down the screen like that. Then they put two buoys 3 miles apart. One downwind here and one upwind there. 3 miles apart, and you do 6 legs, 18 miles altogether, up, down, up, down, up, down, sometimes against the wind, sometimes with the wind. So what happens is, once they start off, they go up on the upwind beat like this, close hauled, tacking all the way, up clockwise around that top buoy, and then downwind back to the start. And they do that 3 times around each way, and then they come down to the finish down here. So there then is the course. Now here's the boat. Let's just look at the tacking again. This business about tacking is quite complicated, quite important to get it straight. Can we just turn the wind on? Let's get the fan on, Daz. That's the stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got some wind coming in from here. Here's the boat, close hauled, the wind pushing the boat over this way, the sails tight in on what's called the port tack. Now that's because the wind's coming over the port side, the left-hand side of the boat, pushing the boat over this way. Now, when you go through the wind and you tack, like on that mat, zigzagging, you zigzag through the wind, luff up to the wind, flap go the sails, you come round on the other tack, down you go like that, and then the boat heels over this way, and you're on the other tack, going the other way. All you've got to do is take the sheets on the headsail round underneath, behind the mast, and back here, and tighten them up that way, and there she is, close hauled on the other tack. Now she's on the starboard tack, the wind coming over the starboard right-hand side, pushing the sails over this way, so that's the right-of-way tack. A boat on the starboard tack has the right-of-way over a boat coming up this way on the port tack. And Ellen MacArthur will be showing Nick a few secrets about how to tack a boat in just a moment. Well, now for the big race. One of the American boats, Team Dennis Conner, comes in here on the right-hand side of the start line, called Stars and Stripes, and the British boat up here, White Lightning, is up there on the left-hand side of the start line. And here's the British team again, starting with the skipper. Andy Green steers the boat for the fascinating pre-start battle as they jostle for position before they cross the line. We've met most of the team already. And right down the bottom, in 17th man position, sitting in a funny little box and stern of the boat, is the person who pays all their wages on this trip, Peter Harrison. Right, so Andy Beadsworth and Richard Simmons in Auckland take up the story.
We're a little faster right now if you want to use it in height.
A historic moment this, the first British America's Cup Challenge start for 15 years. Starting helmsman Andy Green of GBR Challenge was just 13 the last time a British boat crossed an America's Cup start line, and he must be feeling the tension now.
I mean, yeah, very tense moments for the crew here. Certainly don't want to be having a losing start, and it looks like we're going to get a pretty even start, split starts, although Stars and Stripes coming out off the favoured end here at the pin.
Top of the picture, that's GBR Challenge. They appear to be going slower. Bottom of picture, Stars and Stripes, great start, cross the line with speed, but what a tense moment. 18 months, 22 million pounds, a team of about 100 people, and we're about to find out if Great Britain have a serious America's Cup challenge.
Anxious moments this for the whole team. This will be the first time in 18 months that we've actually lined up against another team giving their all.
Ian Walker will be at the helm of GBR Challenge now, but the green line there on our animations, that's the gain line. It shows who's in the lead, and it shows that Stars and Stripes have the early lead. They came out of the blocks quickly, but these are early days.
So we're looking at each other, wondering who's going to go faster, who's going to go slower. Are we in a yacht race here?
Difficult day for that first race as well. Very shifty conditions, the wind coming off the land. It's not going to be easy sailing out there.
No, very difficult, very shifty, lots of gusts.
And that's just what the animation is showing. Just getting you used to these. Looking from above now, right of picture, that's GBR Challenge. And they are now just ahead. Must be, what, about a boat length in it?
Still two different breezes, so hard to judge how we're doing against them.
Well, two different breezes, hard to judge how we're doing against them. That's the voice of Tom Whidden, tactician on Stars and Stripes. So very difficult. There's the Stars and Stripes team looking across to GBR Challenge. Well, that's Ian Walker there. Shall we be brave and take it?
Yeah, I mean, we must have had a little shift here, and Ian saying, should we tack and split? Difficult decision, really. When we left the dock this morning, it was very much to try and keep the race tight, so a split wouldn't be in keeping with that.
This is a crucial moment of the race. The first cross. Stars and Stripes are coming across on port tack. GBR Challenge on starboard tack. The British team have right of way, but just how close is it?
It's looking really close, this.
Well, they're protesting. The flag goes up. That's Ado Stead on board GBR Challenge.
Not close enough, I don't think.
Well, that was a punchy call there, looking for the umpire's decision. Well, you're absolutely right, Andy. They weren't close enough. So that's a green flag, no penalty, but significantly, Stars and Stripes cross first.
4 lengths!
Well, we've had around 3 miles of racing. It couldn't be much closer. There's less than a boat length in it. And now on board the boats, the emphasis shifts from the afterguard to the bow team. The team responsible for hoisting those giant jellicas, which Stars and Stripes are doing right now. Well, that's a slick hoist on Stars and Stripes. Just as good behind on GBR Challenge. It's a drag race downwind now towards the second mark. And that's the face of Ken Reid, skipper of Stars and Stripes, and it really does seem the harder he chews, the tenser he is.
And by tacking the boat right now.
That was Walker there calling the tack. With GBR Challenge go into attack.
Holding this angle. No duck from here.
It's going to be very close, this.
Wind me up a little.
Ian's heart will be in his mouth. It's going to be close. Stars and Stripes look like they're probably going to tack. The boats are going to get very close together.
Well, Stars and Stripes are coming across it right away. GBR Challenge tack, and yeah, you're right, they're close. What, less than half a boat length in it?
Yeah, Stars and Stripes tacking very close there.
Oh, it's a penalty flag on GBR Challenge.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of gamesmanship, that, bringing the umpires into play.
Walker thinking that Stars and Stripes tack too close to him. Green flag I saw there from the umpires, so no penalty to Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes again going back over to the right-hand side, where they get the advantage when the boats come back together, being on right of way.
Yes, can you just reassure me that we're not sailing down into him here?
Well, Ian Walker there looking for reassurance from his tactician that they're not sailing towards Stars and Stripes. Stead said they're not, but I'm not so sure.
It looks like the wind's clocking right here. Stars and Stripes appearing to make a gain. So Ian and Ado choosing to tack away, getting onto the favoured tack, onto the new lifting tack, and waiting for the breeze to go back to the left before they come back to engage Stars and Stripes again.
If GBR Challenge hadn't have tacked, well, they'd have fallen into the trail behind Stars and Stripes. So it's so important, particularly in these sort of conditions, to play the shifts correctly. The wind is always shifting out here, and it's a question of tacking in phase with those wind shifts. The GBR Challenge are doing pretty much everything they can in this race. They're really taking the race to Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get caught the lure of him then. That's good. Thanks,
Intense concentration in the afterguard. But it's encouraging. The dialogue seems relaxed. They seem to have got into their groove after that initial tension.
Looks like confidence is really growing here in the team. Again, they're taking it back to Stars and Stripes, putting the pressure on, forcing Stars and Stripes to make some decisions, trying to force the error and then trying to capitalise on it when it comes.
Great Britain keep coming in at Stars and Stripes, but the American team keep blocking off the British. But you do feel the British team perhaps have slightly better upwind boat speed. Well, synchronised tacking there from Stars and Stripes and GBR Challenge. We're over halfway through the race now. Stars and Stripes round Mark 3. And as GBR Challenge approach Mark 3, you feel they're doing more than hanging on. You feel that one of these chances, one of these attacks could just work, and if it does, they perhaps have the speed to hang on. 17 seconds, a difference between the two boats, and GBR now really in pursuit. Well, this is interesting. Stars and Stripes are on the gain line. They're leading. But GBR Challenge, White Lightning are converging, and they're going quicker. You can see the mark now at the bottom of your picture. Both boats now about 300 metres away from the mark. What you're doing is great here, Ian, says Ado Stead. Get to the edge of your seats. This could be the moment. Look at those hunched shoulders as GBR Challenge attack. Converge on Stars and Stripes. We're going to have to jibe, but the important thing is this is the first time the British team have got an overlap. The arms waving on both boats, signifying that overlap. Protest from Stars and Stripes. No, says the umpires. But GBR Challenge are blocking Stars and Stripes from jibing towards the mark, which is to the left of the picture. GBR Challenge jibe, and that enables Stars and Stripes to jibe. The American team back in control on the inside track to the mark.
So what do you want around the mark? No match? Yeah, I agree. If he tacks, no match.
If he tacks, no match. That was Tom Whidden, tactician on Stars and Stripes. He was saying that after the mark, Stars and Stripes are going to continue. They are not going to tack and cover GBR Challenge. Now at the last mark, 17 seconds separated these two boats. What is it now? It's 10 seconds, a 7-second gain.
A great opportunity there for GBR Challenge. In fact, the first opportunity that we've really had to really stick it at Stars and Stripes. Put them under all sorts of pressure there, and they just didn't buckle.
Try and shove this under him here, okay?
Try and shove this under him. That's Ian Walker, considering dipping down behind Stars and Stripes. Stars and Stripes with right of way. Tacks just in front of the British boat. There's the mark, bottom of your screen.
I probably could have done it, actually.
Probably could have done it. Walker reflecting, he could have dived down. Could have dived down beneath Stars and Stripes, but plenty of tension in this voice. It's very close as they come to the top mark now. 10 seconds, the difference between them at the last mark. It's going to be even closer than that at this one. 6 seconds of difference. A good hoist there by Stars and Stripes. Well, that's the picture there that says this is going to be Stars and Stripes race. The body language on board Stars and Stripes, they know they've done it. This, the victory gun here. Race 1 win for Stars and Stripes.
The guys on board are going to be so disappointed. First race, the America's Cup, we're on the pace, we're in the game. We stuck to our strategy, kept it close, but it just wasn't enough.
Well, I can understand your disappointment, Andy, but Great Britain have come into the America's Cup. They've been away from it for 15 years. Against Stars of Stripes, one of the great teams, they've delivered an impressive performance and taken it right to the wire.
And after their first race in that first round robin, the British boat was back in the yard without a point. But Ian Walker wasn't too unhappy about his performance.
They sailed a near-perfect race, and we would have needed to have taken a bit more risk to get past them. So all in all, a pretty good day because the boat was going well, the crew sailed pretty well, but obviously very disappointing not to come up with a point.
So was Ian Walker a bit too cautious? Let's look at this race in a bit more detail now. Here's the start. There's Stars and Stripes off there, and there's White Lightning. They're just mucking about now, trying to disturb the other as best they can, having a punch up here before the start. Something like a minute to go to the start. The start line is coming up now here. We're running them very quickly. Here's the start line. Now we slow them down. Here goes Stars and Stripes on the same tack all the way up towards the start. But watch what White Lightning has done. They've gone off on another tack, much slower because they've tacked. They've gone off this way 7 knots, 9 knots here, the Stars and Stripes boat, and that means that they come up, don't they, Ben, rather late to the line.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the key to starting is judging time on distance, and I think in this scenario, White Lightning was just about 8-10 seconds too late, to be honest, and they did that tack just before the start, which slowed them down, and they could have been 10 seconds further ahead at the starboard end of the line, and, you know, further up the beat, that could have put them in the lead, so I think that was pretty crucial parts of the whole
really
race.
Tough. They just didn't tack sooner. You think they should have gone right like that, but they should have done it sooner?
No, they did the right thing. They just needed to be further closer to the line.
OK, now let's move on now to that very interesting moment. Coming up to the 4th mark. Here they are, spinnakers up, coming downwind now. They're coming up the 4th mark. It's down here, that mark. And here Ian Walker's on the outside. Does he have a chance to get in there and stop the Americans coming through? What do you think, Nick?
Well, prior to the jibe, the two boats were overlapped and the separation was a lot closer. And coming into the mark here, you see Team Dennis kind of jibing and dropping the spinnaker, and the GBR boys allowing the separation to grow again.
Allowing them? You think they should have been much tougher?
Well, it's pretty early in the piece and nobody really wants to
Let's look at the pictures. Here's the picture of the same scene now. There is Ian Walker on the left, the British boat on the left. Could he be keeping the Americans off, moving towards the mark? You see, there's the penalty being disallowed. The Americans having a go and being disallowed. There's the green flag saying, don't be silly. But could the British have been tougher here, Nick?
Yeah, I do believe they could have been a bit tougher. When you see the two boats around the mark, the distance between bow and stern of the two boats could have been closer.
OK, so perhaps not quite aggressive enough. Right, now then, here we are coming up to that final mark, coming up to windward. They're on the port tack. There's the American in front. There's the British boat behind. Look at, actually overlapping definitely. Could possibly the British boat have nipped inside there, Ben, and zipped round inside the mark?
Well, I think we heard Ian Walker saying on the tape that he thought he could have pulled it off going inside Stars and Stripes, but I mean, it looked to me with the distance to the mark, they would have just got stuck in Stars and Stripes' dirty air and would have just lost more ground. And as it was, they came out right on Stars and Stripes' heel for the downwind leg.
There we are looking now. We're looking at the same picture now. This is the picture on the real film of the picture. And there we have the British boat behind, but very, very close up, Nick, behind Stars and Stripes. What do you think about this? Do you think he could have been more aggressive in some way?
No, I think the boys actually did the right thing there. The GBR boat is faster than Stars and Stripes in this occasion, and at some point they have to commit. They put their bow to windward or their bow to leeward, and I think when that crucial point was too far away from the mark to go to leeward.
But overall, Ben, do you think Ian Walker, he himself said perhaps he wasn't taking many risks. Do you think he probably made a mistake in not being a bit tougher, a bit more aggressive?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say so early in the piece, but I think there definitely were a few occasions where they really could have had a go at Stars and Stripes, and they didn't. I think as we get more into this series, they're going to have to change their attitude a bit and start getting stuck into some of the other teams so they can get some points.
OK. Well, now the man who's behind the British team. He's Peter Harrison, internet tycoon, who sold his company for £300 million at the height of the market 2 years ago and has thrown £22 million of that into putting this team together. In the first race, Peter Harrison travelled in the back of White Lightning as 17th man. You might have wanted to say a few words, but you're emphatically not allowed to be part of the crew or say anything if you're in their position. Now, like most of the other syndicates, he's built two boats, GBR 70 and GBR 78, and he proudly showed me what they're made of.
So this is White Lightning.
The first of your two new boats.
The first of our two new boats, which have been down here since middle June. Now, of course, we've got two wheels on this boat, so as he goes through one tack, he then will sort of transfer across to this wheel. So we'll always steer the boat from the windward. Until the teams get into the water with their actual new boats and we start sailing against each other, nobody really knows how well the others have done.
Right, Peter, here we are looking at your new boat, GBR 78. Oh, she's actually got GBR 70 sail up, hasn't she?
That's correct, but we're using exactly the same sail rig.
Right.
So that's why GBR 70 sail is on our new 78 boat.
Now, how soon do you expect to have her racing for you?
The plan is we've been working up GBR 70, and that's going to be our battle boat for the first round robin.
Right.
In between time, comparing 70 to 78 and deciding which we think is going to be the better boat.
Have you ever, everybody talks about keels, have they, underneath the water.
Yes.
Have you done something clever with the keel?
Well, that's rather, we don't wish to sort of comment on that at all. We all hope we've done something clever because everybody's got a keel and a bulb. Yeah. But of course, all bulbs are not the same. All keels are not the same.
But do you think there is actually a chance you could win the America's Cup?
Well, I mean, if I didn't think that, we wouldn't be here.
A fantastic power of those boats. You have to be on them, as I was, to feel just how powerful they are. Huge, great boats spinning along at nearly 10 knots. Now, Ben, there he is saying he's hoping to win the thing, but you know, realistically, he probably thinks he'll do much less well than that. But anyway, never mind that. What would the America's Cup be without people like Peter Harrison?
Well, I mean, whatever people might say about people like Peter Harrison, you know, the fact is, if it wasn't for these guys, there wouldn't be an America's Cup, and I think they do have their funny ways, but you know, there just aren't the corporate dollars out there to fund these expensive campaigns. So they're great. They add a bit to it all, a bit of a soap opera.
Amazing pizzazz, isn't it? I mean, Nick, now what about, there he is saying he's out to win. Realistically, what are the British, what are we going to say the British have done well at if they how much have they got to do?
Well, I think the boys are aiming for a top 4. And if they achieve that, that'll be huge for this country. Absolutely huge. And I think they're up for it. You know, I think today they'll be very, very relieved in the performances that they've seen to date. Very relieved. And, you know, they're tough boys and the charisma on board's good, boat speed looks good, and I think they're up for it.
You think they're on course for the semi-final?
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be fantastic.
What's the timetable now? A lot of races ahead. How does it work exactly?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got 2 round robins and then the top 4 team.
Round robins where they all fight each other once.
That's right.
Actually, twice. They've got 2 round robins, yeah. Right?
And then the top 8 boats go into quarterfinals, sorry. And the top 4 boats have 2 chances in the quarterfinals. Yes. Whereas the bottom 4, you know, if they don't make it the first time, they're out. And then, you know, obviously semi-finals and then finals where the winner of the Louis Vuitton Cup will then race Team New Zealand for the big thing, the America's Cup. Unbelievably
complicated, and it's not until next February or March, the final. Anyway, very exciting, and the whole thing is a huge build-up, and let's hope the Brits do well. Now, each week we're going to get a lesson in one point of sailing from Nick and his long-time sailing colleague, the round-the-world yachtswoman Ellen MacArthur. She came second in the Vendée Globe, single-handed, at the age of 24, so she certainly ought to be able to show Nick a thing or two.
Attack is where the boat sails through the wind. So at the moment we have the wind coming from here over the port side of the boat, and then when we go through the tack we're going to turn to the left here, and then we're going to have the wind coming over the other side of the boat, and the sails are going to flap. Ready about? Tacking.
Speed build trim.
Now we have the breeze coming from the right-hand side of the boat, and we've turned through about 90 degrees. Right now we're sailing upwind, so we're basically sailing as close to the wind as we can, but keeping the boat on good speed. So we're going as fast as we can towards the wind. We can modify our course in 2 ways. If we turn to the right, we're heading closer to the wind. It means the boat slows down, but we're actually heading more along our course. So that can be a tactic sometimes, just to head up higher, so that your course seems to be higher for the other boat. The other thing you can do is actually bear away from the wind, which is turn away from the wind, and that's called footing, and that means that the boat goes faster. You're not going quite as quickly to the mark you're trying to get to, but you are gaining speed. And sometimes in order to pass another competitor, that's important too.
Looks like there's a little bit more wind over on the right, Alan. Maybe we should put another tack in.
Okay, tacking.
Okay, a couple of waves here. We'll foot for speed here, speed build trim. Sea flattening, speed building, trimming on.
Going to come up. On course.
Nice.
Okay.
A little bit more breeze building on. Trimming you up. In order to tack, we have to turn our bow up into the eye of the wind. So we'll just rotate, Alan, and give everybody an idea of the movement and the motion here. Sails flapping, jib sheeting on the other side. We've completed a tack.
Well, it looks pretty promising. They're going to be rivals, those two, Nick and Ellen, in a transatlantic single-handed race starting in a few weeks' time from Brittany across to the West Indies. So good luck to them both. Now, there's a key person of the team who can have a vital influence on whether or not the race is won. He or she is the weather person. And the British boat's weather person is Fiona Campbell. She tells Richard Simmons how she does it.
After that nail-biting encounter with Stars and Stripes, the forecast southwesterly winds kicked in. Racing was lost yesterday, it was lost today as well. So the questions are, what's happened to the weather? And when's the racing going to get back on track?
Well, the racing should get back on track tomorrow. We're still going to have the strong southwesterly winds, but rather than reaching 30 knots plus like they have done the last 2 days, we should be back down to sort of 16 to 20 knots, which is perfect for the start.
And that weather map looks pretty promising for tomorrow. Big high up there, about the right place for Auckland. Let's hope for the best. Now, Peter Harrison's £22 million is a drop in the ocean compared to the total amount of cash thrown at this World Cup of racing. It runs into hundreds of millions, and each syndicate has a tycoon behind it, sometimes more than one. It all makes for an explosive cocktail of national pride, big egos, and a lot of glamour, as Michael Peschardt reports.
Anybody, of course, can enter the America's Cup. It's a very egalitarian event. All you need is about £20 million and you're in. As a result, Auckland right now is a city of billionaires and their boats. This is the ultimate social event, and the city's transforming itself into a makeshift Monte Carlo.
Listening to some of the accents, you could almost be there. This was the opening crew party, a disused warehouse transformed for the night. Like much with the America's Cup, money's no object.
Let's celebrate the beauty of our harbour. We've got these fantastic people come to town who know how to party.
The city's full of beautiful people on big budgets. The harbour's filling up with all those essential items for a decent holiday. Larry Ellison, the 5th richest person in the world, has parked his runabout in the harbour. The man who founded the Oracle Computer Company has put about £50 million into his challenge for the Cup. He and some of the other billionaires in the city were brought together before the racing. Amongst them, the Italian owners of the Prada fashion house, who are also sponsoring a challenge again. In the room, enough spending power to buy a medium-sized country. Larry Ellison reckons he's earned the right to a touch of the steering wheel.
I was quite serious when I said I will drive when and if Peter lets me drive. So it's that simple. He's the skipper on the water, and if there's an opportunity for me to drive and it makes sense and it won't hurt the team, then I'll drive.
Suddenly, this is a place for conspicuous consumption. Restaurants, nightclubs have all sprung up to cater for the kind of people who never look at the prices. By comparison, the multi-millionaire behind the British challenge, well, he seems positively frugal.
Peter Harrison is no fan of the overgrown motorboats favoured by the others.
One's Ellison's Oracle guy.
He's worth a bit of money.
He's worth a bit of money. And the other is, in fact, Bertorelli, the Alinghi chief. I mean, lovely boats, I mean, you know, 200 foot, 180, 200 foot long, but they're motor yachts. So what I like is sailing and driving the boat in the natural wind.
This may be the ultimate rich man's sport, but it does capture the public imagination as well. There's something of the appeal of a soap opera. And as the organisers point out, the men writing the cheques are genuine lovers of their sport.
I don't think we should talk only about money. Those people are passionate with America's Cup, passionate with sailing. This is the first and main point.
Auckland has acquired a taste for the champagne lifestyle. The crews may be going to bed very early each night, but there are a great many people here who aren't.
And all that goes on for months. Now, that nail-biting clash between Britain and Stars and Stripes wasn't the only race so far. We've had 3 others. 2 other American boats have won victories in this first round. Le Défi Arava, the brightly coloured French boat, faced a tough opening race against the Swiss boat Alleghi, one of the favourites to win the Louis Vuitton Cup, which decides who'll face New Zealand in the America's Cup final. The start was exciting and close, but it was soon clear that Alleghi was by far the quicker boat, and by the time they'd crossed for the first time, the Swiss were in front. The Alleghi crew, funded to the tune of £60 million, reads like a who's who of world sailing, led by Russell Coutts, twice cup winner with Team New Zealand. He had a lead he was able to build on throughout the race, as Le Défi Arava, with a third of the budget of Alleghi, could do nothing to respond, and trailed in 4 minutes 48 seconds behind. Coutts has laid down the gauntlet to the other syndicates. His boat's the one to beat, while Le Défi looks sure to be struggling as the racing hots up. One World, one of the 3 American challengers, had the ideal opportunity to cancel out its 1-point penalty against the second Italian syndicate of Mascalzone Latino. With the smallest budget of the 9 challenger boats, Mascalzone, which means rascal, was always going to find it tough. By the first windward mark, it was apparent that the Americans were by far the faster boat, with a 1 minute 14-second lead. That was to grow as the race progressed, with Peter Gilmore skippering his crew to an impressive 5 minute 43-second victory. The Italians, with only 1 boat, will have a tough time in the rest of the round-robin races. The final race on day 1 saw the big bucks of Oracle, another American syndicate, pitted against Prada, the runners-up to New Zealand last time. After a split tack off the line, it was Oracle who had the edge, and after a quick tack to port, a long upwind duel followed. At the windward mark, the Italian boat Prada trailed by 15 seconds. It closed the gap on all 3 downwind legs, but couldn't match the American yacht upwind, and trailed in 42 seconds adrift. Heads have already rolled at Prada, with chief designer Doug Peterson sacked by syndicate boss Patrizio Bertelli. All is not well for Prada this time around. So after the first few races, here's the scoreboard so far. In theory, 4 teams should have won 1 point each. Alleghi, the Swiss team, and the 3 American teams, Team Dennis Conner, Oracle, and One World. They all won their races, but One World are on 0 points because they had a point deducted before racing even began due to legal technicalities. All the others, including GBR, the British one, have no points so far. Interesting to see how Prada does tonight against Stars and Stripes, who beat the Brits. And that race begins very, very soon. Well, now, Nick, you've been in 2 America's Cup campaigns yourself in the past. What do you think of that field? I mean, at this very early stage, who do you pick as the probable winner?
Well, it is very, very early, as you say, but I've got a hunch that Russell Coutts and Alleghi, Team Alleghi, are going to have to face off against Team New Zealand.
Now, Russell Coutts ran the successful New Zealand championship because they won it in '95, they held it in 2000. He was the one who captained the boat then, and now he's deserted to the Swiss. He's an unpopular man in New Zealand, isn't he, Ben?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it'd be funny if they did get through to the to race New Zealand. It'd be Russell Coutts against this sort of the guy who brought up Dean Barker. So,
who do you fancy? Who do you fancy?
Well, I'd like to say One World. That's the team I was sailing with for a year. I think they've got a good chance to do it, but I've got a lot of regard for Russell Coutts, and you know, I agree with Nick. I think.
And the final placing, just a quick guess about the Brits. Where are they going? Are they going to get the semi-finals? Yes or no?
Too tough to call now. I hope so. It's going to be close.
Nick?
From me, yep, they're underdogs, and everyone backs the underdog.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. We'll be here every Thursday night at the same time, 11:20, with this roundup of the week's racing. There'll be a lot more racing next week, with luck. You can also catch up with the excitement on Grandstand at the weekend, and, of course, BBC Eye throughout. The address is www.bbc.co.uk/sailing. There are some fantastic games you can play there, too. Join us again to follow the fortunes of Britain's first entry in the World Cup of Sailing for 15 years. Good morning, and join us again.